All right, man, what it do, YouTube? It's your boy Key coming at y'all boys with a brand new video, and today we're getting into the story of THF TP. You feel what I'm saying? And the hit that brutally got him killed. He was, you know what I'm saying, damn near out of town on the north side with his family, and they got up on him and did him dirty. You feel what I'm saying? So with that being said, oops, excuse me, let's get into the backstory of it. Man, look at his kids, bro. Look at his daughter. Niggas know who did that to him. They know who did it to him.
What happens when the lines between music, fame, and street life blur? For Terrence THF TP Pearson, it was a deadly mix that ended tragically. Known for his contributions to Chicago's drill music scene, Pearson's life and death became a symbol of the violence that often lurks between the surface of the music that tells the story of the streets. In 2022, Pearson was shot in front of his daughter, a heartbreaking event that left fans, family, and the drill community in shock. But how did he go from rising star to becoming another casualty in a city plagued by gang violence? Chicago was once again hit by massive violence, amply representative that it's hardly a week when the city escapes a horrible act of brutality. THF TP, whose full name was Terrence Pearson, age 30, a father of a young daughter, was shot dead in a brutal manner in front of his daughter. It was a planned attack, not a coup d'etat, but an outright plan to put a bullet through his head. His death was shocking, not just to his family, friends, and fans, but to the whole world. Now so that they're in search of the reasons for the tragedy that took his life. Pearson was well recognized as a member of the THF Trigger Happy family group, but deep in his heart, he wanted to go solo to make a different impact in the big and most importantly challenging Chicago hip-hop world. Slowly, people started to like his small clip style, and it looked like he would soon go mainstream. Still, he could not forget that, to achieve his goal, one must go through quite a number of challenges. It wasn't all wine and roses in the life of this man. He's been an eyewitness to the dramatic images of life on the streets, even though sometimes it was hard to pay attention to them, seeking not to become involved in the everyday crime-related affairs, being the son of a man who knew the street world too well. Nevertheless, Pearson had said he recently started focusing on his music business. I thought that the father wanted a joyous life for his child that didn't include suffering and abuse as the man had gone through. He wanted to stop the escalating cycle of crime within the family, to give the one thing he never had, no fear of the future. But unfortunately, it was that same violence, the one which pursued him all his life, which would eventually separate him. They actually intended to go out on a casual date with his daughter on the day he was shot dead before he died. But what followed is unbelievable. Half an hour later, a sharp stench of gunpowder. Pearson fell and was hit all over his torso by bullets. After a brief struggle in which his face indicated he was suffocating, he collapsed to the ground. And right there, in front of him, the girl whom he knew as his daughter. All that had happened, she saw the tragic death of her father and her guardian, as well in the most terrible way a child would ever want to imagine. That was the moment that will play itself in her mind for the rest of her life, which nobody could have ever thought about. However, a video showing the gruesome shooting went viral only days after the incident, and people had reasons to wonder why incidents like that happened. Others had pointed out that, defiantly in Pearson's smash hit diss track, Bus Stop, he directed lyrics and threats to members of a rival gang, and this provoked a violent payback.
One thing that I am
Many thought that the shoot
is that from the outside looking in, a lot of the fans don't like 051 Young Money, but I heard that they be getting them calls like niggas on the outside of the city don't like them, but they damn near loved in their own city, and somebody will put that call in and them boys is gonna come get you. You feel what I'm saying? Like, they begin to drop for real.
Was because there was a blood feud between Pearson's THF crew and their own sworn rivals, 051 Young Money. In any case, the unprovoked butcher of another young man is again concerning the Chicago community in a cycle of mourning. For Pearson's family and the rest of the THF members, the history will remain a way of suffering and anger, and one more try to find justice. The larger community is thus left with bitter murk, which is the catch-22 of violence, through which the people it has buried seems endless. As the city mourns the death of Terrence THF TP Pearson, it becomes difficult not to consider much more. The energetic drill music and gangsterism coupled with real-life contact have turned the streets into a very dangerous place for the young men such as TP, where people die young, kids grow up without their fathers, and many gather a handful of shattered dreams and sorrow as their heritage. Terrence THF TP Pearson is from the Bronzeville of Chicago. His childhood years were spent in buildings considered criminal and for abandonment. He said that his childhood must have been like that of other children dwelling in poor areas. But later on, in an interview explaining his life, state of origin can only utter so much of the truth depicting poverty, drugs, and violence surrounding childhood. Notwithstanding all the adversities he faced in his life, he realized what he wanted and began rapping to avoid getting into that sort of predicament. It's obvious that prison keeps TP from concentrating on his musical activity further. Moreover, he loses some school. Despite this, he did well in his earlier class levels, including being one of the brilliant kids. He once revealed this loss. These experiences shaped him and his music. The hardships of young years shaped him to have a view of life different from the rest. This he expressed through his genre songs. In the midst of these ordeals of life, one, however, never changed. The gang, the Trigger Happy family gang that he grew up with. THF is a relatively large group in and around the Southside area of Chicago, primarily in Kenwood, especially around 46th Street and Ellis. These have been involved in many forthcoming showdowns and other gangs over the years that they've been active. Still, TP was not just a gang to him, but they were family. He explained in an interview.
Family, you know, different shit, you know what I'm saying? It ain't no gang, ain't no GD, thing, none of that. We just a family.
Eric Gang love to say that. He say in the interview, we a family, we don't gang bang, and then he'll get in a song and say we GDK, BDK, we THF06, we the biggest, the most deadliest gang. Like, come on, bro. Nigga, A or B?
So,
still rest in peace, though.
THF, is that strictly music?
Shit, some motherfuckers do music, some motherfuckers, do that clothing lines and shit. You know what I'm saying? Some motherfuckers writing shit, you know? A lot of motherfuckers around because family, you know what I'm saying?
But it's not a street thing.
In the case of TP, for instance, it was not whether they were in a gang, but whether they belonged to the THF. Quite literally, the participants in THF were always ready to help each other with music business or personal issues. But of course, the outside world mostly recognized THF for its gang ties and the ongoing rivalry with another well-known group. Below is YM051, found on 51st Street and Cottage Grove Avenue in the Bronzeville neighborhood. Many future killers in Chicago see YM051 as one of the most dangerous gangs due to the fact that they believed it was involved in the murder of Leonard L.A. Capone Anderson in 2013 and Kamari Babo Belmont in 2017. At least to some extent, the rivalry between THF and YM051 has been violent, and some of the parties involved even lost members. This has basically been a constant conflict in the drill rap music category, where the artists of one sing or tweet obscene things to the artists on the other side. P-Coach for TP, the decision was always to stay on THF, while in this Mortal Kombat with Kreese. This is because such time within the prison environment reduced TP's opportunity to frame his total awareness towards the music career. And secondly, he also lost his school attendance. But this happened despite the fact that he had been a gifted student. In his earlier years of school, he shared this problem and said that
Chino, D-Thing, bro,
you had a lot
members, photo was in there.
So since it done hit 2 mil now, 2.1 mil, I just checked before we started the interview. How does that feel as an artist? Like
that shit like 2 trophies for me.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, at least I can say I did it, you know what I'm saying? I don't care how long it took, I did that shit. Like, a lot of motherfuckers can't say they got 2.1 million views on one song. And I could've did it without my niggas or my cameraman, THF Production, shout out him. Bro, I couldn't did it without them.
So with the current state of Chicago rap right now, do you feel like it's necessary to make disrespectful songs, diss and that?
these experiences shaped his life and his songs, and he came up with a vantage point of society that he enclosed in the songs. It took 3 months before TP included the memory of Lil Mark on his biggest hit, Bus Stop, with the lyrics, "Smoking Mark with the bros, got my eyes bloodshot, I'm on my block." This violence did not end in part there of the two sides, yet the violence ended, and with the conclusion of the violence, so ended the two sides part. It progressed into the execution and shooting of Kamari Belmont, alias Babo, of THF. It was reported that Bobo shot on the deck Lil Chief of YM051 and vice versa. They both died. Before that, he attempted murder after a robbery, but was released due to mistaken charges by Cook County prosecutors. It only took 5 hours and 45 minutes and Bobo was dead, gunned down in a car with 2 other friends. He was later killed and the offense was committed by Ricky Ross Anderson from YM051. Had Bobo been killed, the violence persisted and escalated. Arius Fitch, known as 5-1 Ariel, had a sister who was killed at a gasoline station, what some may call a bloody end. Ariel then shot 2 youths, having 15-year-old Raheem Damron Thomas from THF High did. Ariel was arrested for first-degree murder, but according to the information, he's now out of jail in 2023. He's also been fingered in the murder of Raheem Damron. Though there is not enough evidence to support such theory, 051 Melly has time and again been linked to murder circumstances now. It would not all be surprised that Melly was implicated in some way because Raheem had shot at him in the past. Melly has also been accused of having a hand in the death of rapper Lil Durk's manager, OTF Chino, who's affiliated with THF. Chino was killed while sitting in a parked car with a woman, reportedly to avenge a video of Lil Durk at the scene where Lil Mark was murdered. Facts about place in the song Bus Stop, TP actually referred to this place. Behind the music, behind the fame, there's a dangerous world waiting to claim its next victim. For Terrence Pearson, what started as an ordinary night quickly spiraled into a tragedy no one could have predicted. His dream of becoming a rapper, something he worked tirelessly for, was shattered in an instant.
I know it's easier said than done, but I just honestly, I really wonder, you know, if a lot of these people, let's say if, I don't know how many of them working a real job, how many of them selling drugs, how many of them doing what they doing. But if you can move out the city, if you can get you a little bag, a little 10, 15 racks, move out the city with your kids and get a job in a city like Atlanta, or New York or somewhere, you know what I'm saying? Like, or even just go a little ways out in Illinois, like to a Joliet or something. You can keep your family safe. Nigga, even though he gone, rest in peace, bro, literally like one wrong move from her, she could have been hit by one of them bullets, bro. Now, them niggas is over bogus for getting on him with his kid like that. But ain't no rules.
The truth behind his death may be darker and more twisted than anyone could have imagined. Was this tragedy the result of old rivalry, or is there something far more sinister hiding beneath the surface? The answers you were about to hear could change everything you thought you knew about the story. Chicago once again found itself devastated by violence, proving that it's rare for even a week to pass without some tragic act of brutality. THF-TP, whose real name was Terrence Pearson, age 30, was gunned down in cold blood right in front of his daughter. The attack was deliberate and clearly intended to execute him. The news of his death hit his family, friends, and fans hard, and now everyone is searching for answers to the tragedy that shook their lives. Pearson was known as a respected member of THF, Trigger Happy family, but his true desire was to make a name for himself in Chicago's tough and unforgiving rap scene. Over time, people began to appreciate his unique style, and it seemed like he was on the verge of blowing up. Yet he knew all too well that the path to success was anything but easy. Life hadn't been smooth sailing for him. Growing up, he'd witnessed the harsh realities of the streets, realities that were impossible to ignore, especially with a father who had his own deep ties to that world. Despite these struggles, Pearson had recently begun focusing more on his music career. He dreamed of a better life for his daughter, one free from the pain and violence he had lived through. He wanted to break the cycle, to give her something he had never had, a future without fear. But tragically, it was that same violence, the one that had followed him his entire life, that would ultimately take him away from her. On the day of his death, Pearson had planned to take his daughter out for a quiet date, a moment of normalcy in the chaos of their lives. But what happened next is beyond belief. In the span of just 30 minutes, gunshots rang out, and Pearson was struck, his body riddled with bullets. Gasping for breath, he fell to the ground, and right there, in front of him, his daughter stood. She witnessed it all, the loss of her father, her protector, in a way no child should ever have to see. It was a moment that would haunt her forever, one that would shape her life in ways no one could predict. The aggression and the killings that had marked the conflict between both parties continued not only in the past years, but also throughout 2010 and beyond. An even more shocking shooting incident occurred in August 2020 involving FBG Duck. Some officials reported that Ralph Turpin, also known as Tay, spotted Duck in a downtown store. Tay says that they called members from the O Block, and in that evening, several arrived to attempt to shoot Duck several times. Duck yielded to the attack, and Tay was charged with murder alongside conspiracy, from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. Even more vile in this action was when Butter eased up the SBD situation by informing them that Tay had been in a handshake line with Duck before he called to set up the hit. However, Butter also showed his frustrations when he mentioned that. People in this community are still in shock because the attack on THF-TP happened during the day on a prominent street. During the commission of the crime, nobody was arrested while the investigation was still ongoing. However, TP's death is especially tragic because in the days leading up to it, he seemed to have reached the peak of his musical potential. TP had recently signed with Dream Global Records, an exciting milestone for a young rapper who had only been hustling in the drill scene for a few years. This record deal was a sign that his talent was on the verge of independence and that there was hope for a future free from violence that had long been a part of his life. Still, the dream of TP was aborted before it could have at least started, not to mention developed. The new signing should have been the beginnings, but now it's a part of his tragedy. People have wondered if there's any links between the arrest of Level Adams, popularly known as 051 Kiddo, and following the day after TP's murder. Even though there's no feelings between the two, many people have felt that there's more to this since there was a lot of violence between THF and 051 Young Money. Now, on February 8th, 2024, Kiddo, who operated under the name 051 Kiddo, was arrested on several counts of gun offenses and possession of firearms that were described as stolen. He was arrested and detained at Jerome Combs Detention Center after being found with 3 loaded firearms, 2 of which were reported stolen, inclusive of a missing one. The other thing that has, however, been ridiculous too is that TP's death seems to have faded out of MLM. Normally, this kind of tragedy would cause a lead story news, even more so when the man is killed in front of a young daughter. However, the silence from the news outlets has caused many to ask whether living in the Chicago drill rap scene means anything. So you thought things were going to get normal? Well, this Instagram post by THF Lil Law has gone viral. The post that accompanied the photo was, "That's why there were so many photos of TP." The line has many people asking themselves if it points a gun at those who caused the demise of TP. To some, the word "finu" is interpreted as what is still to be done. There are still those who argue that, as in those who eliminated TP, may also face extinction. The post then goes on to recall the interest of drill music associated with Chicago. One death leads to another. These here in the mouth of Lil Law may not just be threats and purposes of retaliation, but the real-life violence to unfold. While the police go on to hunt for the person who killed TB, the community waits for the next step, and the arrest of 051 Kiddo will be the end to the bloodshed, which is looming larger with each passing day. THF and 051 Young Money
never free for that long. Like, he went to prison for like 10 or 15 years, no, 12 years, I think, in like 2012 when he was like 17. You feel what I'm saying? He went down for a robbery. He got out. He was out for like 3 months and went right back to jail on an armed habitual. Violated his probation on an armed habitual. He going back down for another decade or 2. You feel me? Because I think armed habituals in Chicago, they from like 7 to 15, starting off. And that ain't if they put no enhancements, because he had 3 guns. He not supposed to have 1. So we gotta see, bro.
Rival team, and coupled with the high profile and massive beef, as well as the general public assassination of TP, and you are waiting for the next man to drop dead on both sides. THF-TP's death is very sad, not only for his family and friends, but also for a population that has lost valuable lives through gun violence. I believe it just underscores how important it is to search for ways of offering the youth something better to do than to continue living the dangerous street kind of life that has claimed so many. The killings and revenge and the violence that circle to occur again and again give an indication of how deeply these wars are ingrained into the most vulnerable part of Chicago. For that reason, every time we celebrate the life of Taryn and protest his death, we should all strive for the day when no child will ever have to see his father gunned down in the streets. Although young people like TP become killed by acts of violence, we should make an effort for everybody in society to get a better chance to live the best life possible. Terrence THF-TP Pearson's death is a powerful reminder of the violence that plagues certain communities and how it affects not only individuals involved, but also their families. His dream of rising above the hardship to make a better life for his daughter was cut short by the same cycle of violence he worked so hard to escape. But through his music and his story, we can reflect on the realities many face in these environments and the toll it takes on both the individuals and their loved ones.
I don't think Kiddo has.
As we continue to search for answers on this tragedy, it's important that we consider the larger issues that fuel such senseless violence and strive for change. Don't forget to like, subscribe.
Wrap up that. To be honest, bro, that didn't really tell us nothing. Let me look at the comments real quick. They said she left both the kids. Gotta leave your city at some point for real. What goes around comes around. Yeah, I don't know, bro. Obviously, you know what I'm saying. It was lame. It was whack. This, that, and the third. But also, the people who did what they did, what the hell? The people who did what they did, they gonna get caught up eventually, you know what I'm saying? Either somebody gonna catch them lacking in the streets, or somebody gonna tell, or the police just gonna get a tip and get up on them, you know what I'm saying? But it's been 8 months, and I don't think anybody's been arrested so far. But it didn't really tell us nothing. Like, they think it's 051, okay, but like, we ain't got a name or nothing, you know what I'm saying? So that's what that is. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Get in the comment box below. Tell me how you feel about this video. With that being said, it's your boy Key. Check it in, checking out. Here we go.